Thank you. Start the recording, and
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you, Scott. Happy Tuesday. Hello, Andy.
Hey, hello, Steve. Hello, Scott.
Hey.
All right. So we're coming off the heels of our test drive week. This is the last day for a lot of people, and it was another great success. You know, hundreds of people coming in, kicking the tires. Made it pretty busy week for us, trying to make sure everybody got the information they were looking for, but all in all, I think it was a very, very successful week. So welcome to the Trade of the Week webinar. Before I get started, just a quick reminder to appease the attorneys that we're not registered investment advisors, we're not licensed brokers, we're not here to give out financial advice or any financial planning, but what we do want to talk about is some cool software and maybe a couple of trading concepts and how to use the software and simplify it and open a few eyes. So we're content providers. We're not registered investment advisors, so please don't construe any of this as financial advice. Got to spend time on this slide, as we always do, especially for the newer people. The Trade Ideas onboarding system is a very hands-on concierge type of program. We have a lot of content available and a lot of accessibility available, starting with these webinars every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We also have a podcast now we've been doing, which Scott will talk more about at the end. But in addition to the webinars, we've got the live trading room, which you see here in this slide. This is Barry's live trading room, and it's free to join. You can join directly off the main menu on our website, create your own username and password, but as you can see, Barry shares his screen here with a lot of Trade Ideas technology and ideas, and there's some really good traders down here in the chat room as well. A lot of tons of great ideas flowing through. You'll notice there's a support tab in here. A lot of people take advantage of the support tab to say, hey, you know, I'm trying to configure something. How do I get this going? And the community is just really wonderful at jumping in and making sure that even people that are in the free trading room get some decent real-time technical support with Trade Ideas. Aside from that, which is the real bonus, and Scott's going to give you guys a promo code at the end of the webinar here, and that code's going to save 15% off your first month. And so if you're thinking about kicking the tires of Trade Ideas, it's not really something you can get familiar with overnight or 48 hours. We really recommend, you know, a 1-month trial. But the proposition that comes with that is you get a free one-on-one private session with us. So that really kickstarts you into the right direction that you want to be using Trade Ideas for, because everybody's got a different niche time frame, but that one-on-one session is all about you and us, and so it's a $99 value. Typically, if you want to come back and do another one-on-one session, it's a $99 value, but for your first month, it is free. So there's really no reason to not kick the tires and take a 15% discount and try the product for 1 month and also get 1 hour's worth of instruction. And then if you feel after 30 days that this program or product isn't for you, then so be it. You know, we gave it the best chance, but we love it, and so does our subscriber growth. This is going back, way back, but starts to show a real increase in popularity. Actually, this orange should probably be up here now. This slide's about 3 months old. We're continuing a real parabolic growth. And we contribute that to 1, the technology, 2, the customer service and onboarding concierge, and 3, the new Holly AI tool that was launched in January 2007 and continues to impress. Brokerage Plus, I'll talk about this real quickly. It's an intermediate advanced tool, and it's currently in beta, and you've got to be an interactive broker client to use it, but essentially it allows you to take any one of our alert windows and connect it directly to your IB account and start doing some automated trading. So in other words, rather than seeing just an alert pop up on your screen, if you've got it configured, that alert is going to be sent directly to a trade order to interactive brokers. And of course, there's risk management as to how you want that trade to work. But again, it's not a introductory type of tool. It's much more intermediate and advanced. You got to really know, what you're looking for and then what type of scans and alerts you'd like to plug into the auto trader. So for those people that do feel they're ready for this, we can have more information. You can get it at tradeIdeas.com/beta. Again, it's currently in beta, still working out a couple of bugs, but we probably will have the full release version here, I imagine, in maybe 6 weeks or so. All right, so moving on, the agenda for today, April 18th, as usual, we'll talk about market recap. It's been a very interesting market as of lately. I'll show you a couple of examples of why things may be changing. We'll go through the Holly AI recap and talk about the quiet day that we had today. Also want to call out and remind people that we have a wonderful alert called the Alpha Predator and how to use that with price alerts. And then, of course, the banner of the trade of the week is the discussion this week of Oracle, and that was the trade of the week. And in fact, it's not active yet. We'll talk about the way in which it was selected and how the trigger price may or may not actually trigger. We shall see. Now, I'm most excited about this one, so if you're thinking about leaving early, you're going to want to watch the replay tonight or at least hang out until you get to this part. It's a new swing trade alert. You know, we hear a lot of people say, I really don't have the time to day trade. I can't stare at the screen all day. Do you have any really good ideas for swing trading? And we're starting to really delve into some more ideas and back testing for strategies that go longer than just the day. You know, we're talking a few days here. So I've got a really cool example I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how the genesis of it and how we got it and how I optimized it. And then I'll be happy to share it with you, of course, as well. And then time permitting, you know, we still may have some stragglers from the open house. So if there's any basic TI feature requests or how do I do this or how do I do that, you can save those till the end and we'll ask for some questions and maybe even a couple of chart requests. That's always kind of a fun thing to do, is to put a couple of pair of eyes on some charts that you're looking at and maybe give you some ideas. All right, with that said, let's save that for the end. And let's go right into the market recap. And I always like to start with the spiders, which is the proxy ETF for S&P 500. So as we last left you, this trend line was very much intact, even though this big gap down day reversed and closed back above the trend line. And then we have this descending triangle. So the price for the last month has been cornering itself into a wedge. Tried this day to escape, but popped back up. And then, let me zoom in a little bit, and then the red candles started. And basically, this was Thursday at the close. This was some serious technical damage, guys. Closing on lows. There was no end-of-day wick that we talk about. Stick-save buyer coming in and saving the market. What it was a 3-day weekend with some geopolitical nervousness with South Korea and whatnot. A lot of people that were not wanting to stick around, you know, bailed out. And as it was kind of a quiet weekend, and so we got a gap up yesterday. And when you see big green candles like this, it's not uncommon for when a market starts to break and show signs of technical breakdown. It's not uncommon for the people who have been conditioned for the last 8 years to buy every single dip they see. And so barring or lacking any geopolitical negative news or economic news, that's kind of what we saw yesterday, was what we call a relief bounce. So yesterday was our relief bounce. But then we move on to today. A couple interesting points of today. First and foremost, it's an inside day, which means it's directionless. It did not take out yesterday's highs, nor did it take out yesterday's lows. The range was in between. And as you'll notice, it's kind of a spinning top type doji. And these are the candles that basically say at the end of the day, after all the smoke clears and it's all said and done, nobody won. The bulls made some noise, the bears made some noise, but the price action kind of closed right there in the middle where it opened. So in my book, we are still a little bit guilty until proven innocent. There are moving averages that are holding the prices down here. I talked last week about my new favorite moving average, the 5-day moving average, which is nothing more than I'll show you right here real quick, which is nothing more than a 15-minute period, 15-minute candle, that is, on 130-minute periods. This is my new filter that we added. A lot of people use this, and it's kind of a guiding hand. If the price is below the 5-day moving average, it's on defense. If the price is above the 5-day moving average, it's got a bit more offense and positivity behind it. But we are below many moving averages. We have not been able to work our way back up into this wedge. And the way we closed today was kind of interesting. We went to lows and then bounced back up. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up an old axiom. What we've been doing for the last 8 years is buy the dip, or some people like to say buy the effing dip, because it's just as crazy as it is. But on a 15-minute chart here, I just quickly drew a trend line to kind of show you that we are not in a buy the dip mode. Going back all the way to early April, buying the dip hasn't really got us very far. What is starting to show up here is lower highs. And you start to see lower highs in the market, then the axiom can switch over to sell the rip. So instead of buy the dip, it becomes sell the rip. And that seems to be, at least on the onset here for the first few days, kind of what we're looking at. But more days are probably needed to play out and see what happens. But again, I believe yesterday was nothing more than a relief bounce rally from the people that were conditioned to buy every single dip for the last 8 years. But these wedges, this ascending trend line and this descending trend line, is basically giving us a perfect wedge, which we broke out of last week. And there's a lot of noise here, guys, a lot of noise, making it kind of difficult for some semblance in creating swing trades, because one day you're down, the next day you're reversed.
Look at that symmetry. Look at that symmetry and that spinning top today, man. I don't know if it's perfect, man.
It is. The wick is just as long as the top and the bottom. And but again, what this means is stalemate. Nobody won today. Mm-hmm. And we still closed well below our trend lines and our wedge that we broke out of. Yes, one day does a relief rally not turn the market around, but it's very typical. Some of the biggest intraday moves you can see are when the market is under pressure and starting to break down technically, but not following through. Then you get that conditioned herd mentality to jump in and just buy the dip, and usually you get some really nice reversals. I truly believe the same thing kind of happened back down here as well. But look at, we're getting back down to these levels again. So there's the SPY.
If you don't mind me telling you, that's why they say bear markets usually wipe out both bears and bulls, because your up moves can be just so brutal to the bears that they end up getting, everybody just gets destroyed in bear markets. Not that I'm saying we're in a bear market, but we're starting to see some more bearish price action. Yeah,
we're starting to see some red flags. Well, the Qs have been leading us for the most part, but again, I've drawn these lines. This was a breakout line from this candle right here. Broke out, had a couple of days, and then the volatility started. Broke back above that line, had a nice week or two, maybe a week and a half of price action above. But then the Qs, which by the way have been the leadership ETF, fell back down below, and now we're back into no man's land here. A little bit of a topping wick there. IWM, same old story. Eventually, this just might work out to be one of the biggest, longest head and shoulders in history. But what it means here is the Russell 2000 small caps are not participating. A lot of the participation has been in the bigger stuff. Last ETF I like to look at is the Dow or the diamonds. Really trying to hold this level. This line has been intact for a while. Yes, we broke down here, but for those that haven't heard, it doesn't matter that we broke down. What matters is where we closed, and we closed right back up inside that range. Closing prices trump intraday prices. We did have one little anomaly here where we broke down, then the relief rally popped us back up, but the Dow basically is flirting again with this particular support level as it is. All right, so that's it for market recap. I really think that you got to be careful here. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of volatility. We have not recovered. All of the moving averages are now pressing down on top of the price rather than supporting the price. And again, that 5-day moving average I mentioned is kind of a key thumbnail, rule of thumb for me. Anything else you want to add to the general markets?
No, I
once
think
again. I'm sorry, but again, the Dow, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Sell the rip is the order of the moment. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right there. I mean, we're making lower highs. You look at the, you scroll out on the spiders there, and this is so different than the action we saw back. See how we kind of channeled a little bit, maybe not quite that much, a little bit. Yeah, like the action we saw back, during December and January. This is different because we are trending down. We're making lower highs. It's still to be determined if we're going to make a lower low right here. I don't think just because we bounced yesterday. I mean, I think we still go and test that low going back there in March, but we'll see. And
I want to make
go ahead.
I want to make one more point. Sometimes goofy things can be attributed to market tops. Now, I am not calling a market top. However, if we continue to trade lower and the action continues to be sell the rips, I want to highlight basically this day right here, these two candles right here. This is the IPO of Snapchat, an unbelievably overvalued $23 billion market cap millennial toy. And sometimes goofy, frothy events can actually be marked on a chart as an event. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that these two candles here were basically the day prior of and the IPO day of Snap, and we have been kind of making lower highs ever since. So I've seen it in the past where you have the IPO market kind of fizzle out, and the last one that got through the gates was just a head shaker, and it makes you wonder how some of these valuations came about. Okay, so that's it for
Not only
market.
that, Steve, just to add to that too, the day before that was the day after Trump's address to the union. So
Exactly.
I mean, so you had overexuberance to the upside after the huge run we had already had in the market. So those two events, they could mark a top. We'll see.
We'll see. Not calling a top. Please don't misconstrue that. I mean, we could bounce right back above this orange line right here in the spiders, and everything I'm talking about here becomes null and void, and we're looking at higher prices. But for now, we're below this wedge, and we're under pressure. Holly recap, a second quiet day in a row. And I think a lot of this has to do with some of the volatility, that we're seeing in the market. With Holly doing back testing, seeing a couple of big back down days, and then a rip back up, and then today. Well, the story of today was nothing really more than noise. Here's the gap down, trade back up to almost flat, and then slam back down to new lows, and then trade back up. And this is what our doji looks like here on the daily chart. On the intraday, it was just a mess. So we like to say that certain days that are noisy statistically, Holly has a hard time getting traction. But what she did show us today was not a whole lot of trades, only 9 trades, which is really on the low end. So trade selection, trade frequency is one thing to let us know that the AI just wasn't really seeing the forest through the trees today. And the other thing was we just never really got going in the histogram. I like to look at this histogram in the first hour of the day, and typically on a good day, by the first hour, hour and a half, we start to see kind of a green-shaped roller coaster moving higher as we get a broad-based rally. The market is not as noisy. The AI is seeing things a little bit more clearly, but 39-cent loss on Holly's trades today is nothing major. The whole idea and premise behind the AI Holly is that it's going to win in the long run like a casino. And now, is a casino going to have a bad day or two? Sure, they're going to have a couple bad days or two or a flat day. But in the long run, the casino odds are in the casino's favor. And but occasionally, that doesn't mean you're going to be winning and spitting out golden gooses every day. I would like to highlight one thing, and that is, still the risk management of Holly is fully intact. One of the first trades to come out this morning was a buy on support. And here was the blue tag right here. The trade was coming down, and there was the buy right there. And before I could even pull up the stock, it was actually, I think, 15 cents lower. So for the people who, sometimes say I can't always grab that exact price, the price will move around in either direction. However, I don't think today was just really the right day to buy bouncers, and it would quickly stopped out here at 71.17, that red tag. So what Holly demonstrated today was that there's no reason to take a big loss. At one time, this thing was down over $1, this DXCM, but Holly had the smart stop risk management in place of 38 cents and took it. And that was the correct move, was to not stick around and try and double guess and second guess. The histogram, Howard, what does the histogram show? The histogram shows basically once the trades start coming out, it shows the net cumulative profit or loss. So today you can see on the left-hand side here, 48 cents, 50 cents is about the low end of our axis here. But for the whole day, the AI just couldn't get in gear. So it's a couple winners, but more losers. If we look at the risk off here, the best trade of the day was this one, SUPN for 12 cents, and this one for 8 cents. But the rest of them were pretty much flat, and except for that one where we just got stopped out really early. So we like to look at Holly as like a canary in the coal mine, or maybe even a surfer out there paddling out on their own, and we kind of watch from the shore and see what's going on. And if there's a lot of semblance and a lot of good green histogram movement and decent trades, well then that gives us you know, a lot of confidence for the remainder of the day. When we see a lot of back and forth, red, green, and noise, it's almost like nature's way of saying stand back, like Black Widow spider. We really want to see some upward movement. Mm-hmm. So again, trade selection. Today they were all longs, which is interesting, but there were very few trades that were fired. And I think the real takeaway is you know, adhering to our stop loss. You're never going to see Holly take a giant loss. That is the one way the traders will blow up, taking a big albatross of a loss. I did it. Andy used to do it. We'd sit there, we'd look at it, we might even add to it, and in the back of our minds we know today's the day it's going to turn around. But one of the best things we ever did early on in learning how to trade was to just come in and say, you're gone, and you're gone. You guys are albatrosses. You've been bleeding my mentality. You've been having opportunity cost where I keep focusing on you, the loser, and I can't move on to start looking to other ideas and winners. It just sucks the life right out of you. So there's nothing worse than holding on to a loser longer than you know you should. Mm-hmm. The acronym AI stands for Artificial Intelligence, Rudy. It's a great question. I will briefly give you a summation of what's going on here. These are about maybe 10 of about 35 strategies. Today, 2 of them were short and the rest of them are long. We look at this like maybe the starting lineup bench on a basketball team. These guys are ready to go because they had a really good practice last night. Last night, Holly, the AI, did back testing on all 40 strategies and changed the filters, changed some things around, and then created a scoring mechanism, which is right here. If I double-click win percentage, we can see that this one, knocking on resistance, which had 0 trades today, it came into the day back testing at 72.5% win percentages and had a 3.27% profit factor, meaning the profits were outstripping the losses by over 3 to 1. And so what's happening is every single night, the strategies go back into the hopper and they get retested using today's data. And tomorrow we'll have maybe a completely different set of strategies, some long, some short, some buying breakouts, some waiting for pullbacks. It just depends. And so the beauty of the AI is that we have taken viable strategies and dropped them into an AI environment, which runs them through the ringers, doesn't look at charts like we look at charts. It looks at plot graphs and other scatter points and starts trying to find where the statistical anomalies and the statistical probabilities lie. And based on those, the following day, the strategies will be active or not active. There's a lot of them that you don't see on here, but you may or may not see one tomorrow. Does the info come out prior to pre-market opening? Yes, Rudy. It takes all night long for our servers to go through about 1 million or more back testing sample trades. And by the time you wake up the next morning early, what you're going to see is no positions in closed positions. You're going to see no data here and win-loss. You're going to see no histogram. You're going to see a fresh new start. Now, I'll let you know that typically the first trades don't come out until about maybe 10 or even 15 minutes after the open. Rarely will you see a trade recommendation come out earlier than that. So with that said, what we're looking at here and the way we treat this alert is no different than these other alerts. There's strategies involved, but there's multiple strategies. But it's this right here, the win percentage and the profit factor. This is our edge. This is our casino edge that lets us know the AI has looked at this thing 7 days from sideways, or however that expression goes, and come up with some viable strategies. Now again, this didn't fire. Buyer stepping in did not fire. Strong stock pulling back did not fire. So just because they're on the starting lineup doesn't necessarily mean that they will fire for the day. So that's a quick synopsis on the AI.
And by the way, who's it, Rudy, that asked that question? I happened to be watching the software. I was probably doing some back testing or something the other night. I think it was around 10:30 or 11 Central Time, so about almost midnight. Anyway, the strategies did pop up for me. the new strategies were,
sometimes they line up pretty quickly. Joseph's asking about OTC. Now, it's not going to trade off the OTC. However, if you'll take a notice today, some of the prices that the AI was playing in was all under $10, $2, $1, 63 cents, $2, $9. So there will be times when we do have a lot of stocks that are under $10, but we're not pulling from the OTC. We're basically pulling from the four major U.S. markets. And by the way, I forgot to mention, this single stock window is really important. If you don't have one of these single stock windows, you probably want to think about it. I'm not quite sure which was the one that was of interest to me on a low float. Which one? It was the first one of the day. Okay, so let's say you're somebody who likes to play stocks that are low float. Well, here comes this KGJI. Double click that. There's our chart. First thing you notice, oh, it's a $1.41 stock. Maybe that's in my wheelhouse. Quickly move up to here and say, what's the float? Ah, that's not the one. That float is 48 million. It's DXCM, I think I'm thinking of. Oh, no, it's not. Where is it? Here it is. It was this one, excuse me. DCIX, if somebody is looking to play low floaters, you can see that we've got the float, the 5-minute volume, the average daily volume. So my point is as you click through these, it's trader's discretion as to which ones you want to participate in. Oh, look at this one. So if you're somebody who likes to play low floaters under $5, look how quickly I could disseminate this stock. TEAR is under 239. That's the entry price, and the float is only 4 million shares. Now that's a low float if I ever saw one. So if you're not using the single stock window in conjunction with double clicking these alerts as they come out, you might be missing some of the pictures of what's the 5-minute volume. I love the 5-minute volume. If the stock's going to highs, Trade Ideas knows what the actual 5-minute volume should be. And if it's under 100%, that means it's very anemic. If it's over 200 or 300%, that's what we want to see. We want to see stocks making highs where the 5-minute interest, the last 5-minute candle, is way above normal. That's another data point I highly recommend. So if you're not using this single stock window, go to New, Single Stock Window, and then just start configuring it with any of the filters that you want to see. And then when you double click on any alert, or double click on any of Holly's alerts, you can quickly see what the short float is and what the size of the float is. All right, so we didn't have a whole lot of alpha potential in Holly today, but there are other things going on here at Trade Ideas that are of interest. For instance, you've probably heard a lot about the alpha predator. This is one of our more favorite scans. It's basically looking for stocks that are green on pretty much all time frames going back a few days. And what I wanted to just quickly do is if you don't have this alert, I'm going to drop it in here and share it right now before I forget. I'm going to save and share. I'm going to copy the cloud link, and you guys should all have a chat window, which I will open on your toolbar there for GoToMeeting. I'm going to type in alpha predator and paste. All right, now all you got to do is click on that link. It'll take you to this page right here. Alpha Predator Pro is the name. And if you just want to highlight the actual URL, that's the code. Copy. Once you've copied, you're done. File, load from cloud. It's right there waiting for me in the window, load. And there is a second copy of Alpha Predator. So this is available to all you guys if you want it. It's in the chat window. But I just want to quickly go through here. This SSYS, wow. I mean, look at that daily chart. That's pretty impressive. When we talk about looking left, this thing was breaking out like crazy. And it was coming through the Alpha Predator in the morning and then again in the afternoon. So if you missed it, what I'm going to try and imprint here is, not so much looking at these charts in hindsight, but looking in them in foresight and using one of our most important tools, which is the price alert feature. So the price alert feature, for those of you who have the premium version, essentially we could say, well, this was a really nice day. It closed on highs. I think I'd like to know through my price alert if it's going to follow through tomorrow. So we could go right to the top of that level where that orange line is. I'm going to right click and create price alert. I'm going to say I got this from the Alpha Predator follow through question mark. Those are the notes to myself to where I found it. So if it does pop up, I know what I got. All right. Let's see. What else was I going to say? There was something else I wanted to say about, now, for those of you who don't have the premium features, which is the price alerts included, so by the way, if that alert ever went off during the day, this is what's going to pop up at me. Hey, SSYS just went to highs. Here's your notes. What do you want to do? Is the market going to highs? Is the market going to lows? You know, it's your discretion. But if you don't have access to the premium, you know, pretty much every brokerage house out there is going to give you the ability to have a tool for a price alert. So you don't have to use the Trade Ideas price alert. We'd love for you to do so for many reasons, primarily because you can track the P&L after the price alerts go off. You can start to track the P&L here and get a histogram just like Holly has and see if your alerts that trigger are actually going in the right direction. And these are the ones that are working. So having working alerts is really nice because it's like having trades served up to you in real time rather than you feeling anxious that you've got to copy somebody in the chat room or chase some blinking lights here and there. So what I wanted to show you here is, you know, there's some interesting stuff on these alpha predators. You can go to the end of the day and say, well, that orange line could be interesting. I could certainly mark that up. Let's see, RCII was one that I liked, okay? Look at that, a big move higher and consolidation. Bam, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just butted right up against there again today. This would be a great place, and you can do it on the 15-minute chart, but there's that wick right there. So I'll go to the top of that wick, set price alert, and then once again, Alpha Predator follow through. So what I'm saying is getting ideas from stuff that's on the move in the Alpha Predator, even if you missed it today, there still might be some interesting setups for follow through. I've got a couple that I had marked up that were coming through the Alpha Predator. That were coming through the. Why is that not typing? Oh, I know why, because I wasn't typing in the chart. This one I was monitoring this in the final hour, okay, and in the final hour. Seeing which stocks had a really good day and looked like they were going to close with some interest. Well, that orange line right there could be very interesting as well if the price gets above there. Ideally, maybe it'd take a couple of days, but at some point, if it does, I'm going to want to know about it. So I could mark that up as a price alert there as well. SYNT was another one that I thought, I could type. SYNT is building a base and then had a couple of big candles back and forth, had a really nice movement today on big volume. One could come right there to the top of that wick and just mark that up as well. Alpha Predator follow through. So what I'm trying to do is just open your eyes to use the price alerts off of one of our most popular scans. Even though you may have missed some of these trades today, you know, they were going all day long and some of them, you know, may still have some more continuation. Here's another one, RCI. I think I talked about that one. So Alpha Predator list was definitely dropped into the chat window, and I think, you know, it's just another way to slow things down and use your price alerts and find things that look good but may not be completely ready until the price alert triggers. LC was another one I had here. All right, really nice day. LC was on the it was on there earlier, basically when it was making highs. It probably dropped off near the close, but I made a note of it because I liked that chart. So I'll go back in right here, today's highs, great price alert, Alpha Predator, follow through. So I think you guys get the gist. This is the kind of stuff you can do at homework at night. And these, the Alpha Predator stocks, these are stocks that were definitely in motion today. All right, so we don't want to lose track of them, in my opinion. All right, anything you want to add, Mr. And?
No, you were very true on that. And as a matter of fact, that MDGX, so speaking of that SSYS that you just showed, if you'll pull up the MDGX, that was one that came through the other day. And I just want to show you that many times when you have these, is it I
think it's MDXG.
MDXG, is that what it is? Yep. There, thank you. You can see very similar chart right there where you had that big move above $10. A lot of times, I'm going to say most of the time, there's more meat on that bone after that first move. And so so Steve setting that alert, that SSYS, yeah, it'd be great if you caught it today, but if not, yeah, you can get some more, room out of, some more push out of these.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a breakaway gap like that, like you see above that 22 right there.
Now again, the Alpha Predator T is a top list window. Okay, it's going to just be refreshing every 30 seconds, but this is kind of how it went out at the end of the day. If I wanted to go back and see what was interesting at 7 o'clock, well, we could do that. 7 o'clock would be 10 o'clock East Coast. We'll go time frame, we'll go historical data, and we'll say 7 a.m. my time. All right.
Look at that SSYS.
Look at that, SSYS. Not only that, we should, I don't have an arrow on there, but normally it would give us the, price 23.12. Okay, so that was basically up here a little earlier. It was probably moving, this is a 15-minute candle, so yeah, it was moving really fast in the first
you would probably have to go see if
day.
it came up around 6:45, but you don't need to do that.
Triple D, another interesting one. Hey, look at this. This is something that could be some follow through as well. So just showing you how you can go back in time using the history feature. I'm going to go back to live during market hours. All right. It's possible that your Alpha Predator list is different, Howard, than mine. There's constantly tweaks and changes being made. But again, if you'd like, if you look into the chat window there, I've dropped in the actual configuration for this particular one.
Yeah, this is the Alpha Predator Pro. So your minimum price is going to be higher. Your average daily volume is going to be higher. Your volume in the 5 minutes is actually going to be a little bit lower. You're only looking for...
This is it right here. Average daily volume is 500,000 shares. So we're not trying to play with the low floaters and the small cap guys. We're trying to bring in a little bit more liquidity into some of these names. So that's one reason we call it the Alpha Predator Pro. Is there another one? Maybe the volume today might even be goosed up a little bit as well to 300,000. But nonetheless, the current configuration is available for you there, Howard, in the chat window. All right, let's move on, shall we? And I'm kind of excited about this next part. All right, I'm going to show you two pictures here. One of these names is familiar, MXXG. We just talked about that one coming off of the Alpha Predator. Well, this was also coming off of another alert that I made. And as I kind of teased earlier, for people who want to look at some possible swing trading ideas, one of the things that came to mind for trusting a stock over the course of a week or 8 or 9 or 10 days is to find one that may be in the middle of a massive short squeeze. And that seems to be the case. I stumbled on this over the weekend. I created what's called an alert window. It's called Squeeze 52. Now, a lot of you probably know that I've got a top list called Squeeze Me. But this is a T window, and this does not show me new highs, new lows. It updates every 30 seconds. And these are stocks that haven't crossed their 52-week high yet, but they're really close. So I do the same things we were doing with Alpha Predator. Mark them up, set your price alerts, let your price alerts go off if they work. So taking the Squeeze Me top list where we monitor it and just kind of keep an eye on things, taking it to the next level, and allowing ourselves to back test it, we had to create an A window. We had to create an alert. And this alert, I just quickly marked up a couple of ideas. There was the trigger, and look at the daily follow-through on ASPS. And as you can see, this came out on 4/7 right there at 38.88 and has not really looked back since. This one also on the Squeeze 52 history came out on the 13th of April. And you can see a very simple line as we draw, broke out. That was the 52-week high. And it hasn't really looked back for about 4 or 5 days. So that begs the question, what the heck is this Squeeze 52 and how do we use it? Basically, to configure, we have to have an event, and in this case, the event is going to be a new high. But let's take a look at the filters. Relative volume of 1 means that this stock, as it's going through a 52, let me just back up one thing. Okay, we're not using that, hide unused. Many times we use the new high as our intraday stock scanner for day trading. But if you didn't realize it, you can throw in a value over here, and I threw in 365 days, which is a 52-week high, just like it says, 365. So this is one way to capture stocks if you want to see them at a 50-day high or a 100-day high or what have you. But 365 is going to be the actual trigger. So the alerts are not going to come out until the stock has printed above a 365, in other words, a new 52-week high. So that's our event. Now, we got to have some decent volume. I want to see a minimum of 1 relative volume, which is just the basic minimum average. I'm not trying to ask for anything more, but I don't want to see anything less. Now we're starting to get into some interesting levels here. When you see 49.99 and a lot of 99s, that's what's called optimization. And optimization is something we do during back testing, and it's basically what Holly, the AI, does every single night, optimizing and rerunning and trying to find certain levels of cutoffs for minimum and maximum values. So our price is between 5 and 50. However, the reason I have the word squeeze me in there, or squeeze 52, is that the short float has to be a minimum of 20%. That's where it starts to get interesting to me. 20% short the float and above is interesting. So that's our minimum short float. Now this other stuff I've got down here is coming from optimization. I noticed when I optimized it that if the stock was way above its Bollinger Bands, more than 40% above its high Bollinger Band, the returns diminish. So we capped out the Bollinger Bands at that level. Distance from VWAP, I noticed that if the stock was more than 3.99 or 4% away from VWAP, our returns started to diminish. So we created that as well through optimization. All right, here I mentioned earlier, this is just my little thumbnail. I like to see things that are above that 5-day moving average, which is a 15-minute candle on a 130 period. If it's above that line, its path of least resistance is probably up. If it's below that moving average, the path of least resistance probably down. S&P change today. This is a VWAP is value weighted average price. It's an indicator kind of like a moving average, and it makes the moving average, Leslie, contingent upon the value of how many shares were traded at certain levels. So that's why it's called weighted average price. Mm-hmm. This is interesting here. S&P changed today. What I did is I popped in 0. So if we click here, the S&P was up since the previous close, or the S&P was exactly flat since the previous close. So what I'm doing is I'm using this market filter to say, I don't want to see these alerts if the market's down today. Well, the market was down today, and here's my alerts, empty. I'll come back to that. I'm really looking for quality. I'm not looking for alerts that are going to spit out 24 things for me to try and parse through and make decisions on. The idea of trading is to simplify and simplify. So the market has to be positive for these things to work, to help propel those things to 52-week highs. Daily RSI, I also noticed through my optimization that anything below an RSI of 60 really didn't quite have the oomph to get it to go through, so I added a minimum value. And I'll briefly show you how I came up with these values for those that are wondering what the heck is optimization. And then lastly, I want these shares to average 300,000 shares a day going back 10 days. And that's the basic filter. So there's a lot going on there. Let's close that. And I could back test it for you right now, but time's of the essence. I went ahead and ran a back test already. So let me pull that up. Now when I first started, I probably had 100 or 150 trades over the course of 60 days, maybe even more. I can't recall what my starting point was. But I'm scanning back 62 trading days, and this was the odds maker result. Pretty impressive if you guys have run back tests before to see a profit factor at 7. I mean, there's nothing on Holly here that's even close to a profit factor of 7, maybe 4. But the part I like the most is over 64 trading days, only 24 trades were spitting out. And that's pretty good. It really slows things down. That's probably maybe averaging 1 trade a day. I'm sorry, 1 trade every 3 days. The average winner, $3.11. The average loser was 62 cents. Now, what I did here is I ran this for 10 days. If I click run again, you can see how I did it. The sweet spot, for the most part, is 8 a.m. Pacific, which is 11 a.m. in New York, to start the scan. And stopping the scan, it would be around 3 p.m. East Coast time. So I learned that by going to optimization. And you can't see it right now because I've already optimized the price as we have it from 5 to 49. But look, if we go to time of day, that was really the best time of day, 8 o'clock to 11:59, 12 o'clock. Everything after that was kind of red, and everything before that was kind of red. This is what we call optimization, and this is where I can go in and start looking at other filters. Well, how does it measure up to the 15-minute candle that came through there? Well, obviously, here's our sweet spots down here, so this is where I can start to right-click and set minimum and maximum strategies directly into my configuration, just using the heat map of different ways of looking at the optimization of what was happening at the time. So that's how I basically got to a lot of those configurations that were kind of wacky with 99s and things like that. But, you know, for somebody who wants to just slow things down, going back the last 64 days, of the 24 trades that came through, this is the kind of equity curve it generated. The average winner was 311 and the average loser was 62. Let me go back to run again so you can see my exit. We're not playing around here in the intraday minutes of today or at the close. We went all the way down here and said, close this trade at the market close tomorrow plus 10 days. So it's actually like an 11-day scan. And it's, I got to tell you guys, it's really hard. The farther you go out in days, the harder it is to find strategies that work. And so you really got to narrow it down using the optimization to find the real quality ones. Again, I'd rather have one alert come out every 3 days than have 23 alerts come out every day and have to parse through them. Let's see. Any questions, Andy, on this or any?
No, very effective.
Ideas? Okay, so with that said, of course I'm going to share this with you guys. Why wouldn't I do that? But be aware that there may be days when nothing comes through. But when they do come through, that's why I wanted to show you this type of movement. In my mind, what would keep a stock continually moving higher without a lot of pullback and breathing? A short squeeze. And so these stocks have at least 20% short. And I think probably one of the dumbest things you could do as a trader is be pig-headed and sit short a stock that continues to make 52-week highs. I don't think anybody really would agree with that strategy. All right.
They're out there, though.
Yeah. Is there any way to optimize hold times at this time? The only way to optimize the hold time, Kevin, would just be to go back and rerun it and then change the amount of days from 10 to maybe 7 to 8. And I did that. I started around 5, 6, and 7, but for some reason around 10 days seemed to score the best. Yeah. All right. I don't. Do you follow the 3 must-watch groups for the week that is sent out? Not so much, Al. That's more of just a more of a marketing simplicity thing to try and get people interested in some of the programs and the stats that we have. I try to keep it simple, so not necessarily to that question. All right, where are we here? So I think that was, for the most part, what I really wanted to show you. I know I haven't dropped it in there yet. Yeah, the new swing alert back tested. That's what we got. All right. Can I update this on a weekly basis? I'll try. Leslie, I'll try and see what I can do. I update a lot of the things that I have when I can, especially the ones that really work. So here I go. I'm going to right-click, save and share, copy all, and I'm dropping it into, I will label it first, 52 squeeze space and then send. All right, so once again, I'm going to click on that link just like you guys would. It'll pop up like this. Here's the Squeeze 52 title. All you got to do is grab the entire URL code, copy, and then file load from cloud. And there is your copy right there, Squeeze 52. So it's as easy as that to share a lot of homework that we do. but we like doing it. We want people to be successful. We want people to try and simplify this stuff and make the best of it. Okay, that's about all I got. We're running up to the top of the hour. If anybody has, any basic how do I questions, we are very, very responsive at info@trade-ideas.com. Feel free to send any questions or any screenshots that might help to info@trade-ideas. I'm also going to drop in a video real quick. It's a 1-hour video. I'll put that in the chat window. So for people who haven't seen it, it's kind of a 1 hour getting started YouTube video, how to unbox it and start from scratch. So I'll drop this here in my last chat window contribution YouTube video. Paste. All right. Okay. Thank you guys for the comments that are coming through. Very good questions. And at this time, I'm just going to put the slides back up and let Scott play us out.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. So we have a podcast. Steve mentioned that earlier. Just there's going to be a new episode up on Friday. We've been doing it weekly with the exception of last week for the holiday. So go ahead and join up. Find your favorite application that you use to listen to podcasts with and just search for Trade Ideas Podcast and you'll find it. Add it to your subscription and you'll have a fresh new hot episode in there on Friday afternoon. So go ahead and do that. There's also a handout in your handouts panel. If you go to where it says handouts and you go to webinar interface, click on the little plus or arrow to expand it. You can download this and a couple other slides that we're going to show you. We have a discount and this code is going to be good through this week. I believe we're refreshing all the webinar codes next week. So Holly all week, all caps, like I think next slide there. Holly all week, all caps is going to be the code to use, just like you see it printed there, for 15% off your first month or year of either standard or premium. Remember, both standard and premium come with a full hour of one-on-one training with Steve or Andy or Jamie. So when you sign up, go ahead and check out the videos to do a little preliminary education for yourself, watch some of the videos, go to the trading room. Once you've kind of figured out the kind of questions you want for your training, then go ahead and book your training. Go to support, click on training. It's a real easy calendar interface to use. Just pick that. And remember, you can save 15% for your first month or year of Trade Idea Standard or Premium with that code, and then go ahead and sign up for the training. It's all included. It's part of how we get you started with Trade Ideas. If you have any questions, go ahead and email us, info@trade-ideas.com, or you can reach out to Steve or Andy directly. Steve is steve@trade-ideas.com. Andy is andy@trade-ideas.com. And you can follow Steve at Today Trader, and you can follow Jamie Hodge.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, hold on a second, Scott. I missed a really key point that I want to touch on here for everybody, and then I'll turn it back over. Knowing what we know about the spiders and the volatility going into this week, the Trade of the Week Oracle was picked as a pullback. This stock made a new all-time high back here, but we wanted to use the idea of using a gap fill entry. So basically that orange line is the gap fill entry. Much like we did, I'm going to show you an example on Facebook last year. Same type of thing. When the markets get a little tricky, all thing we can do is really control our entries. And this was a big gap back here, and the trade of the week was that orange line where Facebook dipped down, filled the gap, and then just took off with no real sweat. So that's the same thinking here in Oracle. It's quite possible we never even get a fill in Oracle, but better to not get a fill than to be into a bad trade. So that was the thinking, and I apologize for missing that. Last thing I'm going to leave you with, I highly recommend setting a price alert at the trigger price of the gap fill for the Oracle trade of the week, because more than likely, if this thing does get filled, it's going to be on some crazy algorithm stop hunt in the first 20 minutes of the morning. So a lot happens in the morning. It's busy, but if you don't set yourself a price alert, you're not going to be aware of it. So it's quite possible Oracle may never trigger, but we're giving ourselves a very conservative price point entry this week because of the volatility, just like we did with Facebook going back to last year. All right, Scott, sorry for the interruption, but I don't think I could have slept last night if I'd have not done that.
Yeah, no worries.
Where were we?
Just if you have any questions, contact us, info@trade-ideas.com. You can get this handout by downloading the handouts from the handout panel. We'll see y'all tomorrow. We have a special webinar with Sean Detmar. You should be getting invites for that, so sign up. We'll see you there. It should be a good one about day trading psychology. Thanks, everyone, for attending this. We'll get the recording up tonight. Have a good one. Thanks, Steve and Andy.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. I'm on the west